Hello. Thank you for joining me in this sharing. The question that is presented this day is, how do I find peace in my heart after watching the news? How do I find peace in my heart after watching the news? Please give me one moment to receive source energy, known to me as the grand universe, a collective consciousness to assist ones with compassion and kindness, love towards oneself and Mother Earth. We are here. This will be the last segment in the video series, Answers Brought Forth. We share that we were going to create 18 segments, and this is the 18th segment. And we presented it in this concept, if you will, by asking a question, selected the questions, and presented the questions and delivered the answer. And we will continue videos. Tracy will continue sharing insights and wisdom through her gifts, if you will. Wanting and eager to share, wanting only to share. And so this will be the last in this series, if you will. And what a question to have sort of the final question in this series. How do I find peace in my heart, in one's heart, after watching the news? We will say right off the bat, and we are not saying it should be this way. Tracy, the channel, made a decision long ago to not have a television. She made a decision long ago to turn off the radio. Truly what she is experiencing, or what her decision was for herself, it's not for everyone, was to take news away from her world. Now, she is being taken to task about that. Ones around her will say, how do you function? How can you sort of turn away from it? How can you get away from it? In which Tracy will always reply, in order for me to feel the best that I can feel, I am unable to watch the news. I am unable to hear the news. Now, part of that is because when one is as sensitive, if you will, one is sensitive enough to connect with, opening a grand space to connect with the heavens, if you will, one has to be a very high consciousness. One has to be very highly in tuned and very sensitive, very compassionate. And she will say, it is not by lack of compassion I do not watch the news. It is because I am deeply compassionate. And that's why I don't watch the news. For she knows what it does to her well-being. Now, she is not turning away from ones in need, let us say. She is not turning her back, not at all. But she knows she is not to fill her day with news, fearful news. Now, if they had a good news channel, Tracy would have it on all the time. If there was a good news channel, one's bringing wonderful news, for ones truly don't hear about the wonderful things going on, not in the same ratio, if you will, of the tragic things that are going on. Tracy spends her time focusing on things that bring joy to her heart. Is she successful all the time? No. No, she is like everyone else living in her everyday world, creating and being and responsibilities and getting through. She has days that are so off, ones will think, my goodness. But she doesn't want to be more off than her days that she feels off. She is the same as everyone. So how does one find peace after watching the news? So one is chosen, it is a choice to watch the news. And it is a choice on how much news you want to watch. How many hours a day are you listening? How many hours a day are you watching? What are you talking about? You're talking about with others. Now again, we're not saying and we're not sharing to turn a blind eye to it, not at all. It was Tracy's personal choice, and it is many's personal choice, and you'll see that many are starting to turn it off. I can't take it anymore. I watch the news and I feel just awful. Tracy will watch the news and she physically feels ill. She physically feels ill. She cannot stand it. Others truly want to see what is going on. They want to embrace what is going on. A personal decision. But if the decision is to watch the news, and you do have an unsettled heart, that's the question. How do I find peace in my heart after watching the news? So that would indicate the one watching the news does not feel peaceful after they watch it. Some can watch the news and walk away and not even have it sit in their heart at all. And again, not because they're not compassionate, just because it is part of, they like the experience of the news, and it is fine. Everyone makes their own decisions, which is good for them. But if it doesn't feel good after the experience, then one may want to kind of ponder why they're having the experience in the first place. So this is a sharing. We're not trying to convince anyone or entice anyone to live similar to Tracy. Not at all. Not at all. But we're using Tracy as the example because she knew in her own heart of hearts that she is so sensitive and so compassionate that it is truly hard on her being to watch anything that is devastating to her. Cruelty. People killing people. War. So how does one find peace in their heart after watching the news? We want to say, to give a blessing. And we also want to add that Tracy gives a blessing all the time. She knows what is going on in the world without watching the news. She knows of the wars. She knows of the cruelty to animals. She knows of the cruelty to people. She knows, and even just thinking about it, tears sting her eyes. And she gives a blessing. And we would say, to give a blessing. We speak about these layers, and we speak about the light and the love that is shared, that is held to be shared, to be given, love to be given. Now, think of that love as expansive. Think of this love that you hold within, expansive, going out towards. So think of a ripple in a pond, if you will. There's a flat surface of beautiful water, pond that is still in stillness. And you drop a pebble. You've seen the metaphor before, but you drop a pebble. And it comes, and then there's this beautiful rings that come out. And the rings go out and out and out and out. And it is perfection. The ring itself is perfection. And the way it ripples outwards, oh, is there anything more brilliant? And we can name millions of things that are just as extraordinary when it comes to Mother Earth and Mother Nature. But think of that pebble going out. So think of your love. So we're saying, so think of being beneath the layers, right in, here's your love, and then you're extending it out like ripples extending out, extending. Understand that when you are sharing the best of who you are, when you are sharing your love, we want to say light, but there are ones that get caught up in this love and light. It almost seems sort of repetitive and sort of a catchphrase, and we don't mean it as a catchphrase. We do not. It is in depth that we mean it. Depth in one's being, in the soul. Ooh, that is not a catchphrase. It is a love so grand it is light. Not said lightly. So, when you extend your loving, beautiful light or your love outwards, when you say a blessing for others, you can say a prayer, whatever the words are soothing to you, and we are very mindful of our words. We're very careful. Ones can get hung up on a word pretty quick, so we want to be very gentle with the words that we choose. But when one says a blessing, and when ones feel compassionate towards another, there is a ripple that goes out into the world, if you will, and we're not kidding. Your loving light will extend across the planet. We're not kidding. And that is why it is so powerful when ones come together, to find compassion for ones that made the news, if you will. The heartache, the loss, the tragedy, the sorrow. When ones come together, there is a light so grand, it is soothing. And it does change the vibration. It does change the planet for the better. So how do you soothe your heart after watching the news? You reach in and you extend your love. You reach in and you extend your love to all, even the one that created great amounts of havoc and heartache, great amounts of tragedy. You extend your love. You extend your light, because you can do far greater extending love to the event, if you will, the experience, than if you sit and you condemn it. We want you to hear that. You have more power extending your love than finding condemnation. There's more power. Because when one is condemning what they had just seen, or truly it's the ripple effect. It doesn't do very much good. It just adds to it. It adds to the tragedy. And we understand why ones do. We understand why ones do. Tracy sees it as horrific. She cannot watch. She cannot hear about it, because to her it's horrific. And her answer for herself to soothe her heart is to extend as much love as she can. To stand in her window and give gratitude and say thank you. Because gratitude is a ripple that will go out to create the goodness. Love will go out to create goodness. You're wanting to create goodness, so one day there will be a good news channel. When ones are feeding in, if you want, and we understand it's a touchy topic, so we don't want to ruffle any feathers. But if you're focusing on the tragedy, whatever it is, all you have to do is watch the news for 1 minute, and there'll be tragedy. Watch it for 10 minutes, there's more tragedy. Watch it for an hour, greater tragedy. You just hear more and more and more and more. when you find the place in your heart to extend love to all, literally knowing that we are one, hard to hear, hard to do. But when you find your own inner love and you push it out and you give gratitude to all, it creates a vibration that soothes. It creates a vibration that perhaps tragedies wouldn't occur. If everyone at one moment in time, and you've seen it, you look it up on the internet, there it's documented as scientific proof that if all ones come together and they hold and they give loving light and they give a prayer and they give gratitude and they give all that they have, the planet changes. The vibration changes. Compassion goes up. Kindness is felt. Love is felt on a higher level. It is science. So on your own, how do you soothe your own heart? You give as much love as you can. You extend as much love as you can. Put a buffer on the tragedy. We're not saying to turn away. We're saying to look and extend light. Extend love. Extend the best of who you are. Extend compassion. Compassion. Extend it. All the videos we have created, all the segments, over and over. Compassion and kindness and love. It is the foundation of all Tracy's work. Why did we leave this question to the last in this segment? Because it is powerful to understand that your love is far greater than one believes it to be. You are so powerful in love. And when ones come together and they hold hands, or they just come together to be in silence, they come together to light a candle, to extend the compassion, to extend the love, the world changes. And if you're by yourself and you've just watched the news and you have an unsettled heart, you light a candle. You want to soothe your heart, you light a candle and you say a prayer and you give love. And we're using the word prayer, but you just extend your love. Say kind words. Say kind words. It is love that changes the vibration. If one is condemning and fighting against, it's just more of that. That's the ripple that goes out. The best that anyone can do is to find the love held within and push it forth. Your heart will feel better and the world will feel better. Don't underestimate the power of your own love. Don't ever underestimate it. Don't ever underestimate what a compassionate, we want to say prayer, will do as a ripple effect extending outwards on the planet. We're not kidding. Your love will be felt across the globe. It will. It will. Love. It is the answer. Compassion and kindness. It is the answer. So, how do you soothe your heart after watching the news? Place your hand where the love is felt, where the loss is felt, where the tragedy is felt. And you extend love. You extend compassion. And that is the best remedy after watching the news. So we will conclude our segment. This is conclusion of these 18 segments, if you will. But we are wanting and sharing. We are sharing. Tracy wants to share. And she wants ones to feel better than perhaps they are feeling this moment. Share the love you hold within, and you are as brilliant as the sun. Know it to be your truth of who you are. Know it to be your truth. And live in your truth of grace. Live in your truth of love. Live in your truth of beauty and brilliance and compassion. Live in your truth of kindness and oneness and forgiveness and ease. Good. There is great love for you. Thank you.